Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy B, and today I want to point out I'm shocked that no one has been talking about this. This is some of the dopest changes that the game is going to be seeing, hopefully coming pretty soon. And it comes to us in the form of the Hall of Kings Q&A number 3 that talks about Alliance, Kingdom, and Warband management. And I'm shocked, again, that it's not getting a little bit more play and a little bit more love that it so is deserving of. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us out because it helps out a lot. So we're going to read through this. I'm going to give you my reaction, but I'm telling you right now, the fact that this does not have as many reactions as it does, and the fact that somebody put a poop emoji, I mean, just the level of disrespect here, I'm going to say. Some of the stuff that I skimmed over is game changing. Let's get into it. Number 1. Kingdom. Allow High Kings to set schedules to auto-cast Kingdom skill. Massive. Freaking massive. Basically, instead of having to rely on manually hitting or activating your Kingdom skill, you can set these out. You know how like when you get a Kingdom mail or a Discord announcement and it says, hey, we're going to be using these buffs or these Kingdom skills at these days and these times, but then somebody still actually has to be on to click it. Now you're going to have a shot at potentially just being able to set the time, kind of like your title queue, and then do it in advance. At least that's what the wording here is, right? So we have observed that players indeed have the need and tendency to cast spells at certain time points, and thus are considering this change in the future to make casting Kingdom skills easier and more efficient. I mean, hallelujah, thank you, bejesus. Okay, again, I want to point something out here. I don't know who got fired and who got rehired or who has been hired as a new person there or new people, but to me it feels like, and tell me if I'm wrong here, it feels like over the past couple months, as an observation, that they have either hired a brand new team or they have had some kind of massive culture shift in the updates, the Q&As, the features, the adjustments, the add-ons, the subtractions that they've been doing from the game that have now been way more community focused compared to what they were for probably a decently long time. It doesn't mean that they never had anything, but I would argue, maybe like 20% or so of things that were getting put into updates or Q&As or dev feedback responses were probably really community focused. Now it feels like it's 75 to 80% community focused. And that might be at minimum. So yeah, man, just over the past couple of months, it's been an amazing turnaround. I have to say that. Next, make sending Kingdom mails from KVKs easier. Thank you for your feedback. In the latest 1.0.34 patch, we added a shortcut to the KVK page for High Kings to manage their kingdoms more easily. You may enter the KVK page, click the bottommost icon on the left, and click on Mails to send Kingdom mails. However, we have also noticed that in the preseason in Home Realm, it's still a bit of a toll. I think they meant toll, not toil, for Kings to send mails, which we will optimize in the future. Now, I am all up for making things easier. The idea of management really should be, how can we reduce the amount of steps and the amount of time that it takes for us to do certain things? And that doesn't mean we need to make everything automated. But this is, I think, one of those things where you can aim to try and figure out how can we reduce those steps. And I think one way you do that is that if you are a king or if you're a minister in the kingdom, you should have a dedicated, even if maybe it's toggleable, or if you can toggle it on or off, or it just stays there, but just some kind of icon somewhere on the perimeter, right? So how do I do like perimeter of the screen? It's, yeah, whatever. You guys get it. Perimeter of your interface, where you just have a small little button, a small little circle, and you click on it, and it takes you right to your King's interface. That would be lovely. Number 3, have more titles for R4s in the game. Thank you for your suggestion. The titles we currently have in game all have their unique roles. Beastmasters control behemoths. Scholars give ranks to members. If we are to add more titles, we need to give them unique roles and purposes as well. So we would like to hear from you on what role functions, FUCNFNC, a little typo there, it's okay, you want for the new titles while making observations ourselves. As a result, the decision of whether to add more titles depends on the outcome of the aforementioned observation and evaluation. Thank you for your understanding. So to get a little bit better understanding here, right? If I go into, let's do this. Let me see if I can bring up my main here, if it'll let me do it appropriately. There we go. So I go here, I go to members, I click on one of the things right here we go. So Scholar, War Master, Envoy, Saintess, and Beastmaster. Beastmaster controls the beasts, Scholars, right? And if you're just an officer, right, you can adjust members. And so then we look at the buffs they have, right? So Scholar gets the plus 1% builds research, War Master attack defense, Legion HP for Envoy, Saintess overall gather speed. Maybe you could have something, maybe for training speed. Maybe you could have something for all damage. Maybe you could have something that's like a plus 15% mana gather or plus 20% mana gather. I mean, just kind of thinking outside the box. Maybe you could have something that's increased building speed, right? So maybe you could have an officer that's increased building / destruction speed of buildings, right? I mean, again, just thinking outside the box here, right? Again, I'd love to hear what you guys think as well, right? Those are just some that kind of come to mind for me. Okay. Next we have is allow High Kings to see all players in their kingdoms. I mean, dude, whoever suggested this, the fact that they picked this one out, this to me is a quality suggestion. So let's read. We have noticed this suggestion before and discussed why this change is asked for. At the moment, we are wondering if it is related to finding players that hinders kingdom development, i.e. rogues, etc. in home kingdom. If this is the case, the change will be highly impactful for these players. However, we are still in discussion about this change and potentially will take some measures against the type of players mentioned above. In the meantime, we would also like to hear from you, the community, your reasons for wanting this change. So there's two things that stick out to me on this one. Number one, I appreciate their humbleness in knowing what they don't know. And some of you might take this opportunity to be like, oh my God, here it is. The CoD team admitted they don't really understand why this is because they probably don't spend time managing kingdoms, managing alliances, really understanding the inner workings of what that is like and how important those roles are to the health and sustainability of said alliances, kingdoms, and the game as we know it. The second part for me is that because I appreciate the fact that they are asking, I will give you some answers. If you are, so let's kind of go over some of the obvious ones. Number one is that if you are able to see where all the players are in the kingdom, it allows for you, number one, if you have rogue players, this is kind of a two-parter. If you have rogue players, it allows you to identify early, having early detection on rogue player behavior because you can find the players immediately without having to rely on someone posting chords potentially or waiting for something to happen. You can kind of just have more of a daily monitoring on them. Now, imagine if you could color code like player dots, or if you could have some kind of like interface as a king tool where you could maybe attach a color code or attach a designation onto a player, and then you can just kind of check out when they're doing certain things. Or if that player that you've color coded or designated attacks another open field march, maybe you get like a priority report. I mean, you could really go deep here, but the idea being is that it gives you early detection because you're able to know where those players are at all times, where you don't have to potentially go and find them if they move, right? Because you'll know where they are. Number two, or part two, is that if they do end up attacking anyone, then you're able to address it usually a little bit quicker because you know where they are at all times. It also, and I guess we'll get to number two. Number two would be if people were to migrate to your kingdom that you didn't let in, it allows you to know where they are. And now, obviously, we know that some things might be potentially changing for migration as we continue to read on. But as it stands now, if you don't know, if you're not able to approve, accept, and deny every single player that comes in, you want to know where all players are on the map because it helps you keep tabs on who is there and, or better yet, who should be there and who shouldn't, in a sense, right? Or just identifying any new peeps. Number three is that logistically, this helps you to organize players by proportionately spreading them out of dense areas. So as an example, let's say that you have a bunch of players that are on like a high RSS zone area, but there's another equally high RSS zone area that is across the map or in a different part of zone 3 or zone 2, and you're trying to have people spread out a little bit so you can, one, and I think most importantly, make it so it's easier for everyone to gather as much as possible. If you have 200 players over by one high RSS zone area, but then you only have 20 players on the other, just imagine how easier it's going to be. And also keeping in mind reduction of march times as well to get to RSS tiles and back, right? If we're trying to min max, these are great ways that you can utilize a system like this. Another way that you can utilize knowing this is by also being able to keep tabs on maybe who's participating in what particular events, maybe the response time, who's in zone 3, who's in zone 2. So you can kind of use it as a event engagement opportunity, maybe even seeing who's going to KVK, who's not. And then the last point I'll give you, which isn't to name them all, but one of the other ones is let's say that you want to know where everyone is on the map because you want to reach out. You want to do some player outreach to find and identify players that are probably still active, but maybe just don't know that they can join an alliance. They're stragglers, they're solo players. Maybe they just don't know what they don't know. And I'll give you a great example, right? One of my homegirls, Azza, who I used to play with in 1196 back in Rock, which was a top Imperium Kingdom, top 4 Imperium Kingdom in the game for a couple years. She went around the entire map of 1196 and was able to find like 40, 50, 60 players and basically put all of them into a farm alliance. And then because I was a part of the recruiting department at that time and eventually leading the recruiting department, I was able to bring players in and we were able to fill an already existing shell that was semi-active at the time. And eventually we were able to fill it. And so this just kind of goes towards great work efforts that can be done from knowing where everyone is on the map. So again, those are, I think, some of my highlighting ones. However, if you can think of other reasons, or if you already maybe know of some reasons, let me know in the comments below. Next one here is going to be allow players or high kings to know the exact metrics and stats with regard to migration and matchmaking. An accurate display of the server information is a long-wanted feature by the players. In future updates, we have plans to have more server migration matchmaking related information with improved accuracy. Please stay tuned. Now, for me, like we've talked about before, I really want them to apply that beta test thing they do for alliances, where if you're the R5, for some of you that have had the chance to test that out, where if you want to migrate to a kingdom, you have that button when you click on the kingdom from the server list after you zoom out, and it shows in the bottom right, like where that screen is where you can click the migrate button. In the bottom right, it would say something like beta, alliance beta preview or something. And then from there, you can checkbox select. And we did a video covering this, where you can checkbox select a number of players to see how much power you'd be bringing in, how many players, and then how much would that move the activity bar, right, to where you potentially would be going up to full status. It would be great if on the other side, if you're the king or queen, you have the chance to do that, right, by selecting the people you want to accept, and then the bar will move, and you can see how much power you're bringing in, how many total players, maybe even an option where if alliances can bulk apply, you have an ability as the king or queen where you can check a box for an alliance that's applying with maybe 10, 20, 30 people or however many. And when you check the box, it tells you, oh, well, you've just selected 30 people by checking that box. Here's how much power you selected, and here's how much the bar's moved. That would be lovely as well. But I do like the fact that they're recognizing this and they're aiming to apply some improvement. Next, make it easier for high kings to give titles and chest gifts. Maybe a button on the player profile. Thank you for your suggestion. Right now, in the kingdom management page, high kings can search for designated players to give titles without having to click on player cities. We're also considering adding a shortcut to the chat channel, but it's still only an idea at the moment. We will continue to brainstorm as well as pay attention to players' voices on this function. Look, as I've said before, my whole thing when you are aiming to improve efficiency and quality of life is you have to first look at how can we reduce the amount of steps and the amount of time that something takes. And so if this is something that they're aiming for, along with if any of you have any ideas on here, because I just don't really give out too many gifts, so I don't know exactly how long the process takes. But if somebody wants to take a moment to explain that, and then also, is it really just a matter, because this is how I would envision it. If you're asking me, if I'm going to give out a gift, I want to be able to if I click search player, I want to either be able to copy their ID, or maybe there's a way where if I click gift, or what you could do is maybe I can just go click on the player in the alliance and then I click on their profile, maybe if I'm the king or a minister at that time, right, who's ever, again, just who's ever able to give the gift, go ahead and there's an extra button there that shows give gift. Or you just type in the player ID and then you give them the gift that way. I mean, I don't think that's too long. I mean, obviously you'd have to go find the name, depending if you keep track of player IDs or not, but that could be something. Otherwise, maybe you click gift from the king interface and then it takes you to like a sub interface where it's like, oh, here's all the alliances, and maybe you can check the alliance and a drop down, and then here's all the players. I guess maybe there's not like the easiest way to do it, but yeah, like I said, I'd have to see what you guys think on that one. Next, here we go. I mean, listen, I can't tell you how wet I am right now. Like, I'm so wet. And I'm not just talking about the water that's in my mouth. Approve/deny system. Like special migration permits for all, let me hit that ALL, all incoming players during migration. Oh, just thank you. Thank you. Oh, just a moment of silence for quality of life improvements across the entire game. Okay, that's enough. Improving and streamlining the migration process is within our plan. In the future, an approve-deny system for migration is currently expected to replace the power limit, one we have now. I mean, just make it easier. If you make it so everyone has to get approved and denied, then you make it so that way nobody has to worry about rogues or any kind of, at least high percentagely, and anyone coming into the kingdom that shouldn't come in. And it also allows for them to control their kingdom power, and potentially what also factors into the KVK matchmaking. So, I mean, this is a win all around. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Again, who's ever writing these and choosing the stuff to address, I want to talk to you, because whether you are a hombre or home grill, you have my vote. Alliance. Need live voice chat option in Alliance, and warband can make it a function that costs something to gain access to. Live chat is a very practical and crucial function for multiplayer open field battles. You bet your heart out it is, especially when it comes to Alliance and Kingdom collaboration, which is why we are surveying technical options to add live voice chat function, to the game and verifying their feasibility. Even though there are some obstacles, we're actively working to tackle them. Thank you for understanding. Okay, this is amazing. And I say this because not everyone is going to want to use Discord. Not everyone's going to go and want to do something outside of the game. So I think this is a great option. Also, you have to also consider the international players, that even if they don't speak English or whatever maybe the primary language that's used in your kingdom, maybe they can understand a little bit of it. And just listening and understanding is better than even if they can't talk or speak the language. So this to me is an overall W, and very well could be something that maybe replaces Discord. I mean, keep in mind, the efficient thing about Discord is that you can use it when you're in game or out of games. And you can also use it if you need to transition between them. If you're in game and you were to close out your program or go into another program or another app on your phone or tablet, maybe it won't work, right? So I think there still will be use for Discord voice, but this could still allow for more people to get engaged and involved in game. So I think this is a great addition. Now, when the suggestion person says something to gain access to, maybe that could just be a city hall level, right? Or maybe just the fact that they need to be in an alliance to use it, right? Something I think to that effect could work. Number 2 in Alliance, add more ranks for Alliance members below R4, and maybe also allow officers to rename these ranks to help manage members better. I think this is a great suggestion. We'll have further discussions on it and consider adding more ranks and allowing officers to rename member ranks to help you have a smoother Alliance management experience. This is a great suggestion. Why do I say this? Well, I think in Infinity Kingdom, from what I recall, you had 6 ranks. So the R6 was the R5, the R5 were the officers, or the R5s, or the R4s. So would I like to see them add at least 1 to 2 more ranks? Absolutely. Would I like them to be able to rename and customize rank names? Absolutely. I think that just adds a little bit more uniqueness and a little bit more identity to the alliances themselves. And I think when you have more ranks, it allows for you to have ranks and have more defined roles within your alliance member team or within the alliance membership or player base. So yeah, I would even go as far as saying maybe start with 2 more ranks, maybe go up to R7 and then have the R7 be the lead, R6 be the officers, and then you have the 2 extra ranks at R5 and R4. And then, again, I think this is a great addition, a great suggestion. Number 3, increase alliance priority list limit and have auto rank assigning function for players on the list when they rejoin the alliance. This is a great suggestion. I really like the auto assigning rank function. when they rejoin. So it's like an example would be if someone's an officer and they rejoin the alliance, they automatically become an officer again. They don't just go and they don't just rejoin, then somebody has to re-promote them. And that goes for anyone. I think that's an amazing suggestion. We've already increased the party list limit in 1.0.33. We currently do not have plans to increase it as we need more time to evaluate the previous change. Okay, I think that's okay and appropriate. However, we do believe that the auto rank assigning function you mentioned would be a positive change for alliance management that we may consider implementing in game in the future. Fantastic. This is exactly the kind of my realistic expectation on a reply from their team, which is, okay, they recently made a change. Let's just give it a little bit of time and see how it goes. Aside from that, the second part of this suggestion is absolutely a banger. We're definitely going to consider adding that. Okay. Again, who is writing these? Because I love you. All right. Add more alliance techs and skills. Adding more alliance tech and skills is within our plans. Since they are highly impactful to battles, we are going to be extremely careful when designing and developing them. After finishing the above process, we are also planning to test them out first in future season of Strike before actually rolling them out across servers. I think this is a good addition. I have mentioned this a couple times before, but I've always felt that the alliance tech seemed as though there's just not enough. There's not enough techs overall. Maybe adding a couple more trees, maybe allowing for different diversity of play, getting other players involved, whatever it may be. I am okay with them adding it. Now, how much should they add it? Should they double it? Should they double the amount of that's on the trees? Current amount of techs? Should they 1.5 times it? 1.5, 1.25, 1.75? You guys let me know how much you think they should do it. Now, I would be okay with them maybe doing 1.5. If they increase it by maybe 50% of where it is, I'll take anywhere from 25 to 50% of the amount of techs they have now to add on to. I'd be okay with something like that. Okay, next. Give players public API to track stats. I mean, we understand that being able to track alliance and kingdom stats in-game is of great significance to long-term development and management. Instead of public API access, we are currently working on a tool which helps officers manage and export the stats they need. We will have more information on the stat management and export tool in the future. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Okay. My thought is maybe they learned something from Rock. Maybe they've learned something from allowing API access or more access like Rock does compared to COD. And they're thinking, okay, well, maybe we don't want to give public access. Also because we don't want to mess up what Boss is doing for the community. In that case, holler at your boy. Thank you so much. Shout out to the COD team. No. But is it nice that they're trying to also consider how they can solve this by thinking a little bit outside of the box and saying, look, even if we're not going to do this, this is what we will do for the alliances / the kingdoms. I think this is a great kind of compromise and meeting in the middle. And maybe we'll get more in the future. So again, I think this is nice to hear. Lastly, warband. Warband alliances should be able to share spires, behemoths, and passes so that they do not need to disband to build through them. It is within our plan to make spires, behemoths, and passes shared warband by warband alliances. Since there is still other work ahead of this change, we do not have time. We do not have a time when it will be live in game, but it's a change we will bring to the game in the future. Okay, I think this makes a lot of sense. Have warband in the home realm. Thank you. We are not considering bringing warband system to the home realm at the moment because we hope that players will be a part of different warbands every season. After matchmaking and a warband system in the home realm is conflict with this vision. This is a little confusing to me because I know you have to establish a warband between you and your alliances, up to 4 alliances that you can have in the warband. So part of me wonders if I'm just misinterpreting the response here, because the question is have warband in the home realm, but you have a warband in the home realm. So again, hopefully I'm just not having a da-dun-da-da moment, but I feel slightly confident I'm not. We'll see what the comments have in store for me. All alliances in each kingdom should be warband union, including all zones, not just the starting zone in the current SOS or Season Strife. We've tested warband-like systems without such restriction, and it caused a huge drop in PvP opportunities. So before there is a well-rounded design, we do not plan to remove such restriction when making warband. So I wonder if this is referring to how the game was in its early stage, where you could have players that are... Oh no, sorry, this is a different one. My bad. I think that's the next one that I was going to touch on. Yeah, I was totally lost train of thought there. Warband-like systems without such restriction. Allow alliance initiative should be in a warband union, including all zones. In each. Oh, I see. All alliances should be war. Oh, I see. Because you can only have up to 4. What happens if you have more than 4 alliances? Okay. I guess if it's per kingdom, I don't actually see a problem with that. necessarily. Like if just basically the entire kingdom is warbanded and not just the 4 alliances. I mean, unless they're going to change something in matchmaking where maybe you select the alliances you want to bring into KVK and those apply for KVK matching, which I think they should be doing going forward, then I could maybe understand this. Allow players to join any alliances in the warband, but we are sorry that it's unlikely that we allow cross-server alliance joining within warbands at the moment, as major issues with data will arise because of this feature's cross-server activity. I'm shocked that they didn't mention that they used to do this, right? As I was saying in the before point, they used to have this feature before they changed it, before Home Kingdoms came out, where you as a player could join other alliances in your KVK, even if they were not a part of your kingdom. But that's not the way it is anymore. So yeah, I'm iffy. Maybe if it was like a separate game mode or something, I might be okay with that. But the way that it stands now, I don't know. Last one, we need more warband markers for Battle Command. We are considering increasing the warband marker limit in the future. Please stay tuned. Okay, good stuff. Again, this Hall of Kings Q&A number 3 is probably the best, most comprehensive, and most net positive Q&A I have read in the past couple months, just hands down. Across regular dev Q&As, across regular dev monthly feedbacks. This is it, dude. This is the shiitake mushrooms. Amazing. Just amazing stuff. I, again, would love to know what you guys think. That's it for me. As always, until next time, man, we'll catch y'all later.